How's it going, everybody? It is Dennis, and today we are talking about the average Joe investor. We're back with another video as usual on a weekly basis, and today I wanted to make a little quick video talking about average Joe's investors, new video talking about stress testing high yield income ETFs for retirement. Of course, before we get into this video, this is not financial advice. This is not financial recommendations. This is just my opinion and my outlook on investments. And of course, since I'm mentioning average Joe investor, be sure to go ahead and go to this channel, check out his videos, check out this video and take a look at it. Like, subscribe, whatever you like. I personally watch his videos and I enjoy his videos because he does a lot of breakdowns and he does very good breakdowns, very long breakdowns, and a lot of work and back testing. So I always love watching his video, but with this video specifically, I wanted to make a quick response to it, I guess, or just a quick reaction to it. So in this video, he talks about he backtests QYLD, QDTE, and QQQI specifically for reinvestment purposes, and he stress tests it, talking about how you would need to reinvest a certain amount into QDTE, you would need to reinvest a certain amount into QYLD, and in QQQI, for example, like he shows here in the video, you would need 0% of the reinvestment to keep your NAV stable from NAV erosion, while QDTE would need 57% and QYLD would need 20%. And with that, he, tries to bring in the idea. Of course, he's not giving financial advice, or I might be misinterpreting his opinion. But based on what I got from his video, what he's trying to bring forward to his viewers is that investments such as QQQI are a little bit better, just because they have no need for reinvestments, and you could have growth in the stocks, of course, in the ETF itself, with QQQ going up. And of course, QDTE is maybe a little bit poor of an investment due to its need of reinvestment. And that need of reinvestment can change based on how that, of course, ETF is trading, how QDT is trading. And of course, QYLD is similar, while it's a little bit more in the middle ground to where it needs only 20% reinvestment rather than 57% QDT. The reason I'm making this video is because one thing he fails to mention, or at least I didn't see in his video, right? I didn't see any breakdown of this in his video, is that even with this 57% reinvestment that he is stating that you need for QDT roughly on average, right? And of course, he's showing current yields, 47.45%. This is currently, as of probably last distribution of making this video, or maybe it's the annual distribution average for 2020, end of 2025. I'm not too sure, but average yield since origin, he gave 40.29%. And of course, he even shows total return performance versus index was 0.26% higher since March 2024. But what I want to get into most importantly is this little graph that I created for you guys. And of course, I use a little bit help of Gemini as well, just to make sure all the data is correct and correctly shown, and not just stuff that I made up on the here and there, or willy-nilly. So if we take a look at QDT, right, I'm using the same data he did, so 40.29, 14.35, and 11.58, or sorry, 18 technically should be the number, but we'll leave it at 0.58. We'll give it a little bit higher because we're using current yield, so we'll leave it at 14.58 and 14.30. We'll give them a little bit of an upper hand, but this data pretty much stays the same, even looking at it this way. So annual yield is 40.29, 14.30, 11.58. Reinvestment rate is 57, QQQI is 0, and QYLD is 20. Now, why is this interesting? So even with the reinvestment rate that he talks about 57%, the reinvestment amount comes out to 22.97%, while QYLD comes out to 2.32%, and of course QQQI is 0%. When you look at net spendable yield after that reinvestment, it is still 17.32%. It's still higher than if you were just to take QQQI and use all of the dividends you receive from QQQI and, not reinvest anything back into it. With reinvesting back into QDT, you still have a spendable amount of 17.32%. Meaning, if you wanted to match QQQI, right, or actually you would be beating QQI, because if you were to reinvest back into QDT a little bit more, a little bit higher, say you have a reinvestment rate of 60%, right? Then this spendable amount might go down to roughly 14%. I'm just doing rough math, just rough estimates based on the top of my head. But imagine you were to bring back your spendable yield down to 14.3, similar to QQQI, right? Because and then you raise your reinvestment rate to roughly 60% or higher. Now you're growing your QDT position, not only keeping a NAV stable or neglecting the NAV erosion, right? So you're beating QQQI on the growth aspect, and you're beating QQQI on dividends, or matching QQQI with dividends. So yes, QQQI is safer Not financial advice, but it probably is safer because it's able to track QQQ a little bit better, and it doesn't have that huge erosion that we see with QDTE and QYLD and other similar yield ETFs such as XDT and so on. But just based off this math that he shows himself in his videos, or in this video specifically, you can see that if you were to reinvest a little bit more, you would have then growth in QDT, not only NAV stability, but also growth in QDT. And of course, you would be able to match 14.3% of QQQI. While QYLD in general is at 9.26% of net spendable yield with its 2.32% needed reinvestment to keep NAV stability, right? So with that, you have 20% you're reinvesting back in, and you're 9.226%, so you're even worse off, right? So QQQI does beat QYLD, but QDT still beats QQQI with net spendable yield. And like I said before, I'm using Gemini to create this all. This is not just data I created out of nowhere. I put the same metrics or the same numbers that he used in the video into Gemini. Of course, like I said, I messed up a little bit. I took the current yield instead of average yield to put in. But anyways, it's pretty much the same thing. It's barely off by just a little bit. But I went ahead and put that information in, right? And this is the data we got. This is the data that Gemini provided itself, stating that clearly QDTE is beating QQQI and QYLD, even with a 57% reinvestment need to keep NAV stability, right? So out of those dividends there, you're getting 22.97% of it needs to be reinvested back in, 22.97% of the annual yield needs to be reinvested back in, and you're left over with 17.32% of net spendable yield, which still outpaces QQQI. So yes, technically, based off his video when he talks about stress testing for retirement, QDT is still a viable option for retirement. Not financial advice, of course, but based off the data that he showed and using it to calculate net spendable yield, it is still viable, and you can have growth. So if you're okay with having a 14.3% yield or maybe even a 15% yield, you could trim off a little bit of your net spendable yield and have some small growth on QDT as well. So your dividends will continue to increase as well, right? And we can take a look also at total returns. So this is based on a 1 year. So from the start of January 2025 to the end of December 2025, we can see that QDT came at a 19.48% total return, QQQ at 21.01% because of course they track QQQQ, and QQQI came out at 18.83% and QYLD at 9.46%. If we take a look at all time since QDT's inception, QDT is at 35.83%, QQQ is at 37.5%, QQQI is at 35.07%, and QYLD is at 24.10%. Once again, QYLD lags behind the others, and of course, even like after we had the drop because of tariffs, you can see it really started lagging behind. It wasn't able to capture momentum, but QQQI came in at 35.07%, a little bit closer than the other one when we looked at the yearly, right? So QQI was 18.83, here it was 19.48, while here it's at 35.07 and 35.83%. And you can see QQQ again beating at 37.5%. But we can see that QDTE total return does beat QQQI. And based on the numbers we ran ourselves, the net spendable yield is higher than QQQI. So in my own opinion, this is not financial advice, QDTE does seem to be like a viable thing to use, a viable investment to use for retirement purposes if you use it correctly. Now, you could also use it in different ways as well. So for myself personally, I created a new spreadsheet. I made a video about it where I am investing into QDT, into YMAX, into all these single stock and weekly ETFs by tracking their weekly movements, right? By tracking the weekly movements of the NAV, right? So if it's negative week for a NAV and the yield from the dividends is not able to beat the NAV erosion, then I will reinvest a certain amount back in. And I have calculations to show me how much I need to reinvest back in to be NAV stable, or I just decide for me personally to only reinvest 75% back in, even when no matter how negative it is, I invest 75% back in because that's just the number I've chosen for myself. But there is one other way to track and calculate specific week to week of how you should be reinvesting instead of just doing a general 57% that he shows in his video, right? He just does a general 57% and 20% based on the back testing he's done. You can be a little bit, like I said, you can do what I do, create a spreadsheet, track week to week, and then know how to reinvest on a week to week basis, based on how it's performing, right? So 1 week when the NAV is green and your dividends have provided you dividends, then you don't need to reinvest and you can use those dividends for other purposes. Then times when it's red, you could go ahead and reinvest you can invest all the money needed to keep the NAV stable, or you can invest a certain amount and then subsidize that on weeks when it's green. So for me, example, when QDT is green, or when in general, when my yield max ETFs and my round hill ETFs, the weeklies and the single stocks, when they're red, I'll reinvest 75% back in. And then when they are green, I'll reinvest 10% back in. So I continue to reinvest money into it even when it's green, but at a lower rate of 10%, right? Giving me growth on even when there's a green week for the NAV. And of course, so that makes up for the fact that I'm not reinvesting the needed amount that it wants, right? So say I need to reinvest, let's say roughly 150% of my, like 150% of my dividends, right? So I have to reinvest more than I received in dividends to keep the NAV stable, right? I obviously don't want to use dividends plus some, right? So I'm pulling money out of somewhere else. So I could always just take and put 75% in, and hopefully we have a good amount of green weeks to where I won't need to put money back in, and that 10% is able to then give us that amount that we're missing because we didn't put that 150% back in, right? So it's all balancing numbers, balancing your reinvestments. But in general, and instead of going on a tangent about my last video, you could go ahead and watch that on my YouTube channel. I just wanted to address this video. Like, once again, nothing against Average Joe Investor. I love his videos a lot. I watch them myself personally. He does a lot of great back testing and runs good data and numbers on high yield ETFs, as well as option strategies. So great video from him. Nothing against him, but just in this general video, I just noted this part where he shows that QDTE needs 57% reinvestment and QYLD is 20% and QQQI is 0%. And based on his language or the way he was demonstrating his feelings, it seems like he preferred QQQI. And of course, every investment is personal. So for him, maybe QQI is the better option. And of course, he's also not providing financial advice. He's just educating, as same as I am. But personally, based on the data I have ran for you guys right here, based on the information he's shown, even with that 57% reinvestment rate, you still come out at a 17.32% net spendable yield, which outpaces QQQI and outpaces QYLD. And if you wanted to have growth in QDT and match that yield of 14.3% of QQI, you could. So just a video I wanted to put out there for you guys. Quick video talking about this. I saw this come up on my, of course, on my YouTube feed. Of course, you can see I'm subscribed to his channel. So I watched this when I was at work, and I was like, hey, let me make a video about it. So I noted it to myself, and here I'm presenting it to you guys as well. So thank you so much, you guys, for watching. That was just a little quick video I wanted to demonstrate for you guys, showing that QDT could actually be a viable investment in your portfolio for retirement, non-financial advice if used correctly. For example, given the 57% reinvestment rate that Average Joe Investor demonstrates in his video. You could do a little bit higher and also have a similar investment or a net spendable yield as QQQI. And maybe at some points you could do lower. Of course, it depends on how the market is moving. But based on the data and the back end running that he did, 57% it looks like to be the best option as of the time frame he ran it for. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and check Average Joe's Investors videos out. Be sure to like this video that he posted and subscribe to his channel if you like his content. And of course, if you're watching my content, thank you for watching. Hopefully you like, subscribe, and check out my other videos, especially the one where I talk about how I'm reinvesting into weekly stocks and ETFs, or weekly high yield ETFs from from Yield Max, from Round Hill, and so on, using a spreadsheet where I track week-to-week movements and dividends to calculate the best reinvestment needed for that time frame. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week for next week's video.